Hey, greetings. Michael DDA here. I'm sorry I missed you 2 weeks in a row. My goodness, delinquent. I was terribly sick last week. I'm still not feeling super great, but I'm much, much better and much, much stronger. The last time we talked, we went through chapter 48. I entitled my chapters, Israel Blesses Joseph's Sons. I kind of have a way of memorizing the chapters so that I understand the order that they're in, and I can get to them quickly by just memorizing these short little snippets. The one that we're going to cover today, it says, and his sons. So Israel blesses Joseph's sons and his sons. Last week he blessed Joseph's sons. Remember, he set Ephraim above Manasseh. Ooh, Joseph was not fired up about that, was he? Remember, it was Manasseh who had done all these great feats of strength. When Israel's seed came into the land, he took hold of Judah and calmed him down. He was able to take Simeon, and even though all the armed guards couldn't take Simeon away from the brothers, he took Simeon away from the brothers. When Joseph broke that big rock and sat on it and turned it to dust, he did exactly the same thing. So Joseph really felt Manasseh was the one that should get the blessing. But I think there's a shadow picture here where the firstborn, the secondborn gets the blessing and the firstborn gets passed up. We saw many times where that has happened in the scriptures. Ishmael versus Isaac got the blessing. Isaac got the blessing. Jacob versus Esau got the blessing. All these different things are shadow pictures, I think, of the flesh man versus the spiritual man. The flesh man versus the Ezra man, the son of Elohim, the man who is in covenant with Yehovah through circumcision and keeping the Passover. Well, look what it says in Genesis 48:5. Let me roll this up so you can see it a little bit better. It says, and now your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. Let's shorten it. Ephraim and Manasseh are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine. Remember, Joseph got the birthright when Reuben sinned. We'll talk about this in a few minutes. We're going to talk about it again. But he gets the double blessing. And so now Ephraim and Manasseh are going to be added to the tribes. And so now they're going to have they're going to be treated as if they're Joseph or Jacob's sons. Very, very interesting. So kind of Joseph is out because he's the king of Israel. And we're going to see that even today. And his two sons are going to be and have the same privileges as Joseph's other sons, as Reuben and Simeon. They shall be mine. Then he goes on, your offspring whom you shall beget after them, they shall be yours. They shall be called by your name. I wonder how many of those offspring went out of Egypt with Israel's seed. I'm going to say in the last days. Oh, yeah, that's interesting to say it that way. In the last days. When Moses brought them out. In the last days. Well, that comment will make more sense as we go through this. Anyway, at the end of this, Joseph is dying. He makes his sons, I guess he doesn't do it yet. He's blessing the boys. Moreover, I have given you one portion above your brothers. He's talking about Joseph. I've given you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorites. We talked about that last time also. Torah doesn't say anything about him taking anything from the Amorites, but in the 7-Day War, he killed 7 kings and took some things from them. We are beginning here in 49. It says, and Jacob called his sons. This is Benim with the conjugation of his added to it. But this is his sons. He called his sons. Dare I say the 12? I think that this is the last days of their time in Egypt. Look what it says. And he called his sons and said, gather together that I may tell you what shall befall you in the last days. Now, when you read that, what do you think? Are we in the last days yet? What is it that Jacob is talking about? You know, Torah gives us no idea. And so, we read these blessings, hardly blessings. I mean, some of these things are almost curses. They're not blessings. Prophecies, perhaps, is what he's giving his sons. It just says, what shall befall you? That I may tell you what shall befall you in the last days. Yeah, so what are it's prophecies? He's foretelling the future of what's going to happen to them in the last days. And again, what are the last days? See, these are all things that we have to understand in order to get any idea of what's going on in this chapter. And as usual, Yasher is going to give us some very good information that's going to help us understand what's going on. Listen to what it says. I think that this is the last days of their time in Egypt. Look what it says in Yasher 56. We're going to cover this today, so we're going to read it twice. But I think it's very important that we read it here. I know that many grievous troubles will befall you in the latter days in the land. The latter days of the land. This is after Jacob's gone. Going to be after Joseph's gone. The latter days in the land. Are we talking about the land of Israel? Are we talking about the land of someplace on the earth? Or are we talking about Egypt? I think we're talking about Egypt. Yea, your sons and your sons' sons only serve Yehovah, and he will save you from all trouble. Only serve Yehovah, and he will save you from all trouble. Do you know the Levites never worked for Pharaoh? Isn't that interesting? They weren't part of what the curses that were coming on the rest of Israel. And it shall come to pass when you shall go after Elohim to serve him, and will teach your sons after you and your sons' sons to know Yehovah. Then will Yehovah raise up to you and your sons a servant from among your sons. And Yehovah will deliver you through his hand, through all affliction, and bring you out of Egypt. Now we know what we're talking, land. Bring you out of Egypt and bring you back to the land of your fathers to inherit it securely. Remember, Joseph came down here. Jacob came down here. He wanted to go back. But Father said he would stay down here and that his sons would bring him back. We're going to cover that today. Or maybe next week. We'll see what happens. What will befall you in the last days? He says, gather together and hear. This is Shema. Hear and obey. You sons of Jacob, And listen, again, the same exact word translated two different ways. Shema, to Israel, your father. Could the sons of Jacob and Israel, your father, be talking about flesh-born and spiritually born men? I think it may. Well, now he starts with Reuben. Remember, you read these things. Let me tell you right now, this is extremely cryptic. I think understanding it in the context of the last days of their time in Egypt makes it much more, how shall I say, palatable, understandable. He says, Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. I'm sure Reuben's going, oh yeah, that's me. But look at how he finishes. Unstable as water. You shall not excel, because you went up to your father's bed when you defiled it. He went up to my couch. I think he took Bilhah to himself. This is the curse, shall I say, the judgment that was on Reuben after he had done that. Listen, this is from Yasher 36. And Reuben was jealous for his mother Leah on account of this. And he was filled with anger, and he rose up in his anger and went and entered the tent of Bilhah. And he thence removed his father's bed. He took Bilhah. At that time, look what it says, the portion of the birthright, together with the kingly and the priestly offices, was removed from the sons of Reuben. Do you hear that? The birthright, the kingly portion, and the priestly portion, all things that he had, being the firstborn, were removed. Look at what it says. The birthright was given to Joseph. We talked about that last week, the double portion. His two boys were added to Jacob's sons, as Reuben and Simeon were added. Well, it says the kingly portion to Judah. We're going to talk about that today. It's very important to understand. And the priesthood unto Levi, because Reuben had defiled his father's bed. Isn't it interesting that he gave and broke up these responsibilities to three different sons that he had? I think it's very interesting. Now he talks about Simeon and Levi. He talks about them both together. Remember, he's the second-born and the third-born son. Judah is the fourth-born son. So he's talking about Simeon and Levi together. Remember, they were the ones who went to Shechem, took it on themselves to talk to these men into getting circumcised, and then went and slaughtered them all. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Instruments of cruelty are in their dwelling place. Swords, shields, knives are all in their dwelling place. Let not my soul enter their council. Let not my honor be united by their assembly. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Remember, this is the last days of their time in Egypt. He's going to scatter them in Jacob. No, divide them in Jacob, scatter them in Israel. That's what it says. I don't know what it means. Now look what it says about Judah. Remember, he got the kingly portion. Judah, you are whom your brother shall praise. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's seed seed is the word that they're using here, bene, of thy father's seed shall bow down before you. That's all Israel. The Ger who are going to join themselves to them. Your father's seed shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bows down. He lies down as a lion. And as a lion, who shall rouse him? Do you remember what happened when they were trying to take Benjamin as a slave because he had supposedly taken the Pharaoh's cup? No, Joseph's cup, from which he foretold the future? No, Judah was not going to have any part of that. And like a lion, who shall rouse him? When he finally was getting roused, that's when Joseph capitulated and said, all right, I'm the brother. He's safe. He finally showed his hand. Well, he bows down, he lies down like a lion, and the lion, who shall rouse him? Look at what it says then. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet. He is the king. But something's going to happen. It says, until Shiloh comes. What is Shiloh? What is Shiloh? You know, we read these kinds of things, and our wee little brains, who have been programmed from birth, want to make it all about Jesus. It's a capital S. And to him, it's a capital H, shall be the obedience of the peoples. You know what? Sometimes we got to get past our stinking thinking. Look at what we just read. And it shall come to pass when you shall go after Yahovah to serve him, and will teach your children after you and your children's children to know Yahovah. Then will Yahovah raise up unto you and your sons a servant from among your sons. And Yahovah will deliver you through his hand from all affliction and bring you out of the land of Egypt and bring you back to the land of your fathers to inherit it securely. Who's he talking about? He's talking about Shiloh. That's Shiloh. You know, we've learned crazy things. We don't understand the big picture. And I am so very thankful for Yasher that we can fall back on this to understand what is going on, because we can't see it. Our brains have been programmed to him. Who is him? We're talking about Judah. I don't think we're talking about Shiloh. It says, and to him shall the obedience of be the obedience of the people. He is going to be leading Israel when they are in Egypt. We're going to see, not this week, next week, we're going to see a war between Jacob's seed, Israel's seed, and Esau's seed. Esau's gone, but it's going to be his son that is going to lead people to Egypt. And Judah is going to raise an army. He's going to fight Esau. It goes on and it says, binding his donkey to a vine. I think the his that we're talking about is Judah. He's binding his donkey to a vine, and his donkey's colt to a choice vine. He washes his garments in wine and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His milk His eyes, again, they have capital A, he's capital H's, his, capital H on his, on he, washes his garments, are darker than wine, and his teeth are whiter than milk. Why would we think we're talking about Jesus until Shiloh comes? Okay? All this stuff he's doing until Shiloh comes. Then Moses is going to be the one who's going to lead Israel. It's not going to be about Judah any longer. Now he's going to talk about Zebulun. Zebulun shall dwell by the haven of the sea, by the shelter of the sea. Here's the haven. Look at this. A harbor, a port, a bay, a recess or inlet of the sea, a mouth of a river which affords good anchorage and a safe station for ships. Israel or Zebulun shall dwell by the haven of the sea. You know, the land of Zebulun here. I pulled it up today. Do I have it? I think this is it. Yeah, here. Here's Zebulun. Zebulun's land is landlocked. He's not on the sea. But could he be on the sea when he's in Egypt in the latter days? They're in the land of Goshen. Of course they can. See, we've got to think differently. Don't just accept our ideas. I mean, latter days. We're thinking, latter days when? In Egypt? In Israel? In the world today? The earth today? I don't even want to use the word world anymore. I use the word earth. The earth today. Do we use that? What are we talking about? We're talking about Egypt. We're talking about our last days there. Zebulun probably is by the sea. But here's a thought. I put, could this be a metaphorical sea? And he, Zebulun, a shelter for men who come to them from the kingdoms of the world to join themselves to Israel. Possible. It talks about Sidon. Look at that. He shall become a haven for ships, and his borders shall adjoin Sidon. Sidon is way in Israel. Zebulun never had a border that adjoined Sidon. But could his ships go as far as Sidon? Remember, Sidon was a very strong and important shipping port and country. Then it talks about Issachar is a strong donkey lying down between two burdens. He saw the rest was good and that the land was pleasant. He bowed his head that he should bear a burden, and he became a band of slaves, aved. A band of slaves. And he says aved, that is servants. Dan shall judge his people, and as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heel so that the rider shall fall backwards. Again, we're talking about Egypt, the last days of Egypt. Gad, a troop shall tramp upon him, but he shall triumph at last. Bread. This is the word lechem. Lechem from Yasher shall be rich. He shall yield royal dainties. I mean, this is just giving them an idea of what's going to happen in the last days. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He uses beautiful words. You know, when I saw the deer, I thought of Naphtali being so fast to run on the ears of the corn. We're going to see that next week. A beautiful bow. I'm sorry. He uses beautiful words. Then Joseph. Two more children left. Joseph, 2 more sons left. Joseph is a fruitful bough by a well. His branches overrun the well. The archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him, and hated him. The archers, who are the archers? Could they be the brothers that mistreated him? I wonder. But his bow remained in strength, and the arm of his hands were made strong by the hands of the El of Jacob. No, what did they say that was? The mighty one, the Avir of Jacob. It says, from there, shepherd builds Israel. This is a time period. Israel is going to be in, Joseph dies 71, comes in at 71, 56. Dies. Oh, I forget right offhand. Joseph dies. Yeah, for 71 years, Joseph is going to lead Israel. He's going to lead Egypt. And he's going to die after 71 years of us being in Egypt at 110. That's the way I want to say it. He provided and built, shepherded and built Israel for those 71 years. That's how we want to say it. He goes on. By the El of your fathers. And remember, he's still talking to Joseph. From the El of thy fathers, from the El, thy father will help thee and provide Shaddai and bless thee with heavenly blessings from above. Heavenly blessings from above. It says, I'm reading on the right. With blessings in the deep, they say blessings of the deep, I guess, that recline under the heavens, under the deep, that recline under the heavens. I think we're talking about heavenly blessings compared to victuals, blessings of food and safety. Joseph has more that he's able to provide for Israel as a shepherd to build Israel. That's Joseph. He's a shepherd to build Israel. He was there to provide for them in the land, in a time of famine, which they would not have survived. And now he's going to do that for 71 years before he finally passes at 110. He says, that reclines under the heavens with blessings of breasts and wombs. They say breasts. Yeah, they say of breasts and the womb. The word that they use for breasts is shadim. El Shaddai. Remember, Shaddai had to do with a picture. Shin is a picture of the two front teeth. The Dalet is a picture of a door that dangles down. Together, these mean two that dangle. This is about the provision of Yahovah, the mighty Shaddai, to Shaddai and bless thee. I know it's how these get translated is really difficult sometimes. Let's continue. So we're talking now, by the Elohim of thy fathers who will help you. Oh, that's the one we just read. Yes, okay. The blessing of your fathers have excelled the blessing of my ancestors. What did that mean? The blessings of your father, which is Jacob, have excelled the blessings of my ancestors. In other words, he's able to give Joseph more than his forefathers have given him. Is that what we're talking about? Up to the utmost bound of everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph and on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. So he does talk about him being separate from his brothers. Remember, that was a big, long prophecy about the corn and the stalks bowing down to his stalk, and the cows bowing down to his cows. Now we're going to Benjamin. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he devours the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. Okay. What do you do with that? Understanding it as Egypt's last days makes a little bit more sense, perhaps. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and that is what their father spoke to them. And he blessed them, and he blessed each one according to his own blessing. I'm not sure they sounded much like a blessing, some of them. Then he charged them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephraim the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan. You know, every time they talk about this cave, they use this big, long description. There is no doubt about which cave it is. It goes on, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite, as a possession for a burial place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah, his woman. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah, his woman. And there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is there were purchased from Heth's seed. Did you know that a Hittite, which we always see, it's a Gittite, and a Ket, a son of Ket, is a son of Canaan. No, a son of Ham. I have that right? Canaan was one of the, it must be a son of Canaan, the Hittites. Yeah, I think that's right. But they're the same. So when you see Hittite, think sons of Het. Ket is actually the word that it's on there. It's hard to see. It took me a long time to realize that Hittites and Kets, sons of Ket, were exactly the same thing. Let me continue. And when Jacob had finished commanding his sons, he drew his feet up into the bed and breathed his last and was gathered to his people. Oh, we finally lost our sweet Jacob. He's passed. So sad. We may even see Joseph pass today. We'll see how we're doing on time. I want to go to this equivalent portion in Yasher so we can read about that. Here it is. It starts at 56. Remember we were talking about, this was cryptic too, because they put Joseph was very aged. No, Jacob was very aged, and his two sons were Ephraim and Manasseh, which he adopted to be his. His two sons, Ephraim remained in the house of Jacob, in his house, together with Jacob's sons' their brethren, to learn the ways of Yahovah and his law. They were fruitful and multiplied during this time. This was the 17 years that Jacob was alive in Egypt. Fruitful and multiplied does not mean we multiplied and multiplied. To be fruitful, you learn and do Yahovah's statutes. That's how you become fruitful. And you multiply by getting other men to do exactly the same thing. So now we're starting on chapter 56. We're only going to get 21 verses today, unless we go to Genesis 50. We'll see where we're at the end. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. Remember, he came in at 130, died at 147. And the days of Jacob and the years of his life were 147 years. Joseph is now 56. His older brothers are 56 to 62. Many of the brothers have families of their own. Joseph's sons are now 22. Ephraim and Manasseh are now 22 years old. At that time, Jacob was attacked with the illness of which he died. And he sent and called his son Joseph from Egypt. And Joseph, his son, came from Egypt. And Joseph came unto his father. They weren't next door neighbors. It was a trip to get from Egypt, where Joseph was at, to Goshen, where Israel was at. And Jacob said unto Joseph and unto his sons, Behold, I die. The Elohim of your ancestors will visit you and bring you back to the land, which Jehovah swore to give you unto you, and your sons, your seed after you. Now, therefore, when I am dead, bury me in the cave which is in Machpelah, in Hebron, in the land of Canaan, near my ancestors. And Jacob made his sons, were these all the sons? I thought it was just Joseph that was come. Jacob said, called his son. It says he sent and called his son Joseph, and Joseph and his son. So it sounds like his sons are already there, because now he's talking to his sons. And Jacob made his sons swear to bury him in Machpelah in Hebron. And his sons swore unto him concerning this thing. And he commanded them, saying, Serve Yahovah your Elohim. Serve Yahovah your Elohim, for he who delivered your fathers will also deliver you from all trouble. And Jacob said, Call all your sons unto me. He's talking to the sons, to call the sons unto him. Call your sons unto me. And all the sons of Jacob's sons came. You know what? I have this note going to the wrong spot. How can I change that? I guess I can't do that, because this son is talking about these sons right here. I'm just going to delete it for right now. Call your sons unto me. And all the sons of Jacob's sons came and sat before him. And Jacob blessed them. And he said unto them, And Yahovah, Elohim of your father, shall grant you 1,000 times as much, and bless you, and may give you the blessing of your father Abraham. And all Jacob's seed's sons went forth on that day after he blessed them. So the sons were there. The sons of the sons were there. He blessed them, and then they left. Now he's going to talk to his sons. And on the next day, Jacob called his sons, and they all assembled and came to him and sat before him. And Jacob on that day blessed his sons before his death. Each man he blessed, he calls it a blessing. I don't know why he calls it a blessing. It's not a blessing. Each man did he bless according to his blessing. Behold, is it not written in the book of the law of Jehovah appertaining to Israel? Yes, it is. We just read it. And Jacob said unto Judah, I know, my son, that he's saying this to Judah. I know, my son, that thou art a mighty man of thy brethren. Reign over them, and thy sons shall reign over their sons forever. Do you hear what's going on right here? This is what we're talking about. And only teach thy sons the bow and all weapons of war, in order that they may fight the battle of their brother. Brother? Who's their brother? I think Judah. I think he's talking to Israel's seed at this point. Teach thy sons. Can he be talking to Judah? And all the weapons of war, in order that they may fight the battles of their, could it be brothers that we're supposed to say, who rule over, who will rule over his enemies? It may be that it's supposed to say brothers, and we're talking about Judah's sons. Does it make sense that we, Israel's seed, Ezra men, should teach our sons the bow and all weapons of war? I think it might. I think that is what keeps our nation strong. Multiple generations of sons living together, learning to fight together, and becoming strong, following Jehovah's ways and learning him, learning to trust him, learning to love him. Let me continue. And Jacob again commanded his sons on that day. Now he's talking to the sons. He was just talking to Judah, saying, behold, I shall be this day gathered to my people. Carry me up from Egypt and bury me in the cave of Machpelah, which I have commanded thee. Howbeit, take heed, I pray thee, you, that none of your sons carry me, only yourselves. This is the manner you shall do unto me when you carry my body to go with it to the land of Canaan to bury me. Look what he says. Judah, Issachar, Zebulun shall carry my bier. We're going to see it's going to be a gold bier, pure gold, on the eastern side. Judah, Simeon, Gad at the south side. Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin on the west side, and Dan, Asher, and Naphtali on the north side. Oh, this is so amazing. Where is Jacob getting this information? It's being downloaded to him to speak this to his sons. Look at this. This is, it says C numbers. It says C numbers 2. This here, move it over, is what he's talking about. Here's his bier. Consider this his bier. Joseph is laying across this. Probably his head here, his feet here. And Judah, Issachar, Zebulun are on the east side. Look what it just said. Judah, Issachar, Zebulun shall carry my bier on the eastern side. There it is. Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, eastern side. Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin on the west. Look at the west. Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin. On the south, oh, I guess I skipped one. On the south, here's the south, is Simeon, Gad, and Reuben. These are the instructions on how we're to camp in the wilderness and how we're to march in the wilderness with the tabernacle in the center, just as Jacob is in the center of this one. I think this is amazing. Let not Levi carry with you. Look at what it says. Oh my gosh. Here, let me just read this. It says, and after the death of Rachel, Jacob pitched his tent. Oh, this is all the stuff about. I don't want to read this. This is the information about Levi being the priesthood. And it says, and he and his sons will carry the ark of the covenant. Let not Levi carry with you. Remember, they're talking about carrying Jacob's buyer. Let not Levi carry with you, for he and his sons will carry the ark of the covenant of Yehovah with the Israelites in the camp. Neither let Joseph, my son, carry for as a king, so let his glory be. Howbeit Ephraim and Manasseh shall be in their stead. Isn't this quite amazing? This is how we camped, and this is how they're going to carry Joseph's buyer. Thus you shall do unto me when you carry me away. Do not neglect anything of all that I command thee, all that I command you. Yeah, who's going to carry it? Who's not going to carry it? How they're going to carry it. And it shall come to pass when you do this unto me that Yehovah will remember you favorably and your seed after you forever. It's a shadow picture of something that's going to happen in the future. And you, my sons, talking to the 12, honor each his brother and his relative, and command your sons and your sons' sons after you to serve Yehovah, Elohim of your ancestors, all the days. This is what we saw in Deuteronomy. Now this is the commandment, and these are the statutes and the judgments Yehovah your Elohim has commanded to teach you, that you may observe them in the land which you are going over to. We are crossing over to possess, that you may fear Yehovah, your Elohim, to keep his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your sons, you and your sons and your sons' sons, I guess I'm missing an S there, and your sons' sons, all the days of your life, that your days may be prolonged. Shadow picture of future events. In order that you may prolong, as long as we prolong the days, your days in the land. He just talked about prolonging the days of your life. As long as you may prolong your days in the land, you and your sons' sons forever. When you do this good, do what is good and upright in the sight of Yehovah, your Elohim, and go in his ways. And Joseph, my son, he's now talking to Joseph. Forgive, I pray thee, the wrongs of thy brother. They're talking about wrongs. Remember in the last chapter we were talking about the arrows. What did it say? And I said, I wonder if this is what they're talking about. What was it that they said? It must have been for Benjamin up here. I don't see it right now. Oh, here. The archers had bitterly grieved him, shot him, and hated him. That's it right there. Could that be what we're talking about right here? The prongs of thy brethren and all their misdeeds and injury that they heaped upon thee. For Elohim commanded it for thy and thy sons' benefit, thy seeds' benefit. And, O my son, leave not thy brethren to the inhabitants of Egypt. Neither hurt their feelings, for behold, I consign them to the hand of Elohim and to thy hand to guard them from the Egyptians. This is what we're talking about, him being a provision for Israel, a shepherd to build up Israel while he is with them. And Jacob's sons answered their father. And the sons of Jacob, Jacob's sons, answered their father, saying, O our father, all that thou hast commanded us, so shall we do. May Elohim only be with us. I think that's a way of saying, may Elohim be their only lawmaker and judge. Remember, he says, if you will follow Yahovah, you will be safe. Well, they're in Egypt. Well, this was, we're getting close. I guess we're not quite there yet. And Jacob said to his sons, so may El be with thee, with you, when you keep all his ways. Hear that? We will only do what Elohim. May Elohim be our only lawmaker and judge. This fits in perfectly. And Jacob said to his sons, may Elohim be with you when you keep all his ways, not Egypt's ways. Turn not from his ways, either to the right or to the left, performing what is good and upright in his sight. For I know that many and grievous troubles will befall you in the latter days, in the land of what? In the land of Egypt. Yea, your sons' only serve Yahovah, and he will save you from all trouble. Point, I mentioned it before. Levi's seed never served Egypt, never served Pharaoh. We'll see that later on. And it shall come to pass, when you shall go after Elohim to serve him. Look at it. It's two things. Serve, to know. And it shall come to pass when you shall go after Elohim to serve him, and teach your sons after you and your sons' sons to know Yahovah. Then will Yahovah raise up unto you your sons. Raise up unto you and your sons a servant from amongst your children, from amongst your sons. This is part we were reading before. And it shall come to pass when you shall go after Yahovah to serve him, and teach your sons after you and your sons' sons to know Yahovah. Then will Yahovah raise up unto your sons a servant from amongst your sons. And Yahovah will deliver you through his hand, from all affliction, and bring you out of Egypt, and bring you back to the land of your fathers to inherit it securely. And Jacob ceased commanding his sons, and he drew his feet into the bed, and he died and was gathered to his people. Oh, he will be missed. I love Jacob. Well, we are at 2:00. I think I'm going to stop here. I'll bet it's been about 55 minutes, V. Well, she's gone right now. She was keeping time for me. I think it's been about 55 minutes. I'm going to stop here. Next week, we're going to see the burial of Jacob They're going to take him, carry him the correct way into the land of Canaan. And we're going to see that Esau is going to die at the same time. 55 minutes, V?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, great. We'll stop here. I don't think I have time to do Genesis 50. So we're going to cover 50 next week, which is going to be actually the death even of Joseph. Jacob dies this week. Joseph dies next week. So sad. But when we see Jacob dies, when they bury him, Esau is going to try to prevent the burial at the cave. And Esau's going to be killed. Jacob and Esau, twin brothers. Firstborn, man of the flesh. Secondborn, man of the spirit. Now the spirit has died and the flesh is going to follow. Oh, so interesting. Well, next week's going to be quite exciting. And when we finish Genesis 50, we're going to be in Yasher for probably at least 2 weeks, maybe longer before we even get to Exodus, because there's a lot of information of Israel and what Joseph did in Israel, or did in Egypt for Israel. So we're going to cover that next week and the week after that. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you again next time. Bye, guys.